Is it time to have death to KPIs? That's a conversation we're going to have on today's episode of CX Without the BS. Joining me from SoniqCX is Justin Jones to discuss all things KPIs. Are we using KPIs effectively? Are we just chasing numbers and have no real context behind them? We're going to discuss that. But first, Justin Jones, welcome to today's episode of CX Without the BS. First, do us a favor. Introduce yourself here to the audience, and then also tell us a little bit more about SoniqCX.
Well, I appreciate that. That's one hell of an opening. So my background, I mean, I've been in contact centers. I started out 20 years ago, I guess. So been in contact centers for quite some time, and even got into selling contact center software. Obviously, how you and I met back when I was selling the software, and still do today. But kind of through that process, decided it was time to fix the broken shit that I saw inside the system. And that's what brought SoniqCX to life. So we're a BPO that's focused on turning cost centers into revenue centers. Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I'm a little weird on camera, so we'll just kind of go with it. But our focus is to really help people understand that their revenue actually does live in the customer service side of the business, and it's not just something that should be labeled as OpEx and thrown in your P&L as a cost. So
yeah, well, and KPIs are always what we use kind of as the benchmarks, right? You're using it as, it's supposed to be a compass, right? It's pointing you towards a certain direction. But what ends up happening is people are just chasing wherever the compass points with no real idea of what that endpoint would look like or what good looks like. They just end up having this arbitrary idea of, okay, well, this is an industry standard, so therefore I'm going to try to hit this KPI too, whether it's your average handle time or your net promoter score, whatever it may be, right? So I guess, when we talk about KPIs, one of the things I've talked about a few times here on CX Without the BS, and something that I'm hearing that you're really leading with over at SoniqCX is this idea of almost contextualizing your KPIs, right? Like, yes, have a KPI, but understand the why behind that KPI. Like, and what does good look like? Like, beyond just a number, what's the outcome that's tied to that KPI? Tell us a little bit more about your kind of philosophy there.
Yeah. So death to KPIs. I think the premise behind the death to KPIs is all about the fact that contact centers run with a scarcity mindset. And if you really think about this, it's almost like it's efficiency that chases poverty. When you're measuring KPIs, it's like, how quickly can we get the customer off the phone and onto the next call? And then we have the metric of satisfaction scores, which we know these KPIs can be manipulated. I mean, the employee of the month could be, honestly losing you more money than you realize, because it's what's happening after the conversation. And I don't try not to jump around too much, but like when you look at this, we spend millions and millions and millions of dollars going out to acquire new customers and try to service them as cheaply as possible. And it's this never ending funnel, right? And you're trying to plug holes with efficiency, or what we call efficiency, by like, how quickly can we get them off the phone with a smile on their face and not try to create meaningful interactions. Now, average handle time, because that's one I probably get the most pushback on. Average handle time does make sense, just from an extent that, hey, we've got to be able to measure kind of overall costs, so we have a better understanding of what I get that. A lot of pushback, and I'm not saying take 3-minute calls and turn them into 10-minute calls. But when you start to measure average handle time and penalize your team members just purely based on average handle time, you drive behaviors that turn them into robots. Like you literally, you feel like, hey, my job, is to be quick and efficient. And I think if you reshape your thinking around what a call center agent does, and you start to track what happens after the call, not just during the call, like, it'd be an interesting project a lot of contact centers should try, is take a cohort of your customers. Like let's say, hey, in November, I'm going to go ahead and change nothing, and we're going to track lifetime value after these interactions happen.
Yeah.
How does that go? And then focus over to like the KRI framework, which is like the key revenue indicators of what we operate on. And we can touch more on that maybe in the month of December, and you track the cohorts of those customers that moved through those months and had interactions and see how that impacted lifetime value.
Interesting. Yeah. Cause that, well, and really quick, Justin, cause like that's something that I think does really get forgotten, right? Like you almost have this old school mentality that the call center or the customer service line, that's there as this reactive, almost ER room, right? Like something happened, customers reaching out with some issue. The agent's job is to more likely than not diffuse the situation, try to lead with empathy, try to resolve the situation and do so in the fastest time frame possible with a positive outcome, right? Like that's kind of the mentality that people had just around what a call center is, versus what you're articulating here is that your call center, beyond trying to triage, should be making that person feel in such a way that they feel not just having their issue resolved, but being heard, being understood, being valued, being cared for, all those warm and fuzzies, right? And that's something that you really you can't contextualialize that into a KPI, right? There is no warm and fuzzy meter, right? There's nothing like that that exists. So like what you're outlining here is, okay, well, what happens after the fact, right? How did that customer's warm and fuzzies translate into long-term business? How did that turn into them now going forward and not just, coming back and being a recurring customer, but spending more monthly, right? Are they ordering more? Are they, they telling friends? Is there a coupon code that they're sharing with people because now they're a promoter of your business, not just saying they would be a net promoter, right? Actively bringing you new referrals. That stuff, I think, to your point, really does have a lot more value beyond just this emergency room mentality.
100%. 100%. And I think, even to take it a step, the next layer, right? Let's think about the mindset of your team and the way that it shapes, because if you change the way your language is internally, you change the outcome. Like call center agents, I started out in contact centers as an agent on the phone. And what my day looked like was, thank you for calling. Have a great day. Goodbye. Thank you for calling. Have a great day. Goodbye. Over and over and over and over and over again.
Did you ever watch that movie Office Space?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
It's the lady who's answering the phone call. Just a moment. Like over and over and over. Just a moment.
Yeah. The psychology, it's insane. You churn agents out. Now let's just look at this, right? Because KPIs are again, I understand how we ended up here. I totally get it. But if you start to show your contact center agents and your team that, hey, here's how you help shape the business. And we're not just talking about a satisfaction score or, hey, great job, Justin. You took 100 calls more than everybody last month and you closed X number of tickets. That doesn't, yes, I may be the efficiency king, but that doesn't get me pumped up, right? Like,
right.
As you start it takes kind of coming up in the ranks to understand the implications of all these roles, the further you go up in your career. But I'm saying shape the language and change your scoreboard at the agent level and say, hey, we're gonna tie value to these interactions, right? Like an upsell, let your customer service team know how much additional revenue they generated, track quarterly reports on lifetime value impacts, change the scoreboard.
What about,
change your
Justin, really quick? What about, I have an idea. What about like actually compensating your customer service teams based on that, right? Like, yeah.
Oh yeah. 100%. So same way you would a sales team, right? Like I can't stress this enough. And, we like for our business, we have this line like, hey, revenue lives here. It's kind of our tagline. And it's not just like, hey, that sounds cool. It's actually, we mean that shit. It's revenue lives in every interaction. And the way that, and you should pay accordingly for those interactions. You're paying hundreds and hundreds or thousands of dollars to acquire customers and then rewarding how quickly you can get them to go away. And then you're labeled employee of the month. And then you have a retention problem on the back end and you get this. Everybody's pointing the finger.
Yep.
We can talk about retention, and I can get into that. But yes, I would absolutely incentivize customer service agents based on revenue metrics.
And
And
not just like those stupid Lowe's gift cards or Amazon gift cards, like actual like a bonus structure where if I'm a customer service agent, I have something I can plan around. It's almost like, a commission system for a sales guy, right? Like you want them to be able to feel that, okay, if I go to work every single day and I'm the best version of myself and I'm always putting the customer first and I have the tools I need to do my job effectively, that I have, really an earning potential based on how well I do relative to making that customer feel heard, understood. And oh, by the way, after we're done with the call, they thought so highly of me that there is now a tied revenue to them coming back, for this 6-month period that now I'm going to see value from. Like that's
100%.
huge. That's carrot and stick right there.
Yep. And you change the stigma. Now, I want to be clear because I think like anybody that's watched my stuff on LinkedIn and some of the conversations I have, and I say everything's a revenue event. To be very clear in the fact that doesn't mean every call is I'm pitching something call.
Right.
But you are either increasing lifetime value or decreasing it. And your customer service team should know where an upgrade opportunity is sitting in front of them. Or, hey, these people are triggered. They're following a behavior leading to cancellation, and it's taking the time to figure those out and then treating them accordingly.
Imagine having a terrible experience, right, up front, like with a company, and you're like, okay, you know what? I know I'm an afterthought to that company. I'm not going to ever do business with that company. Versus you have a phenomenal customer experience with a company. They apologize profusely, and then a couple hours later, in your email is an email follow up saying, "Hey, we're sorry. We're going to do better. Here's a $50 gift card to go buy whatever you want from our store on us." Like, we'll pay for shipping. I don't care. Like something like that. All of a sudden you think that when they see a marketing email from company A versus company B, they're not going to lean towards company B every single time. Cause like that was a positive experience. And knowing that as a customer service agent that I was able to make that happen. Right. Like that's so empowering.
Yep. And KPIs won't track that. They'll just track efficiency. Right. And it's going to be funny. And I know everybody can guess what will happen with AI. Like you could totally we could all make our guesses. I will guarantee you that you are going to see people optimize themselves out of business. The bad behaviors that they think are efficient, as soon as AI gets its hands on it, that whole P&L, that predictable, and you're going to be scaling back. You're going to see the great AI experiment of 2026 where customers come in, and it's not to say AI won't work. I'm not saying that it's not going to work. I think it's inevitable that AI is going to have its place in contact centers, but we're going to optimize for KPIs. And that is going to become where people go, oh shit, maybe there's something to this. And that's where we talk about like key revenue indicators and, like perfect first contact wins is something that we talk about with our customers. First contact wins. And you could make a guess. I won't put you on the spot, but like, let's assume I run a subscription business and a customer signs up and I solve a problem for them. And now they're monthly recurring revenue. And most call centers, most businesses will just let it be and they wait for the next touch point. But statistically, you can significantly improve lifetime value if you get something done for them in the first 90 days. So either if they don't need to call you, surprise and delight them in the first 90 days. Give them something more than they expected in that first 90 days. It will make a significant difference. But instead, we treat customer service like, hey, you're here, and it's a containment zone. Come in, and then we're trying to block the back door when they're like, hey, this party sucks. Yeah. Then now we've got promos like, hey, wait, don't leave. Let's come over here. I'll get you a steak dinner. When it's like, dude, you could have been doing that the whole time. I hope my audio is not going in and out, by the way. I've got
no, you're okay. You sound great.
Yeah, something's popping up saying USB device issue. But you really think of it, customer service is treated as a containment. It's like, come in and we try to keep you from walking out the back door. But We only want to talk to you when you get to that place. And if you do want to talk to us, it's like going to a restaurant and having a server be as fast as like fly by your table, drop your plate on and cruise away. And then they're like, hey, I don't want to eat here anymore. And you're like, well, wait a minute. No, like take a minute.
That's not how this works.
We'll be better. Here's a promotion. And that's the point. You know, like look at Chick-fil-A. Freaking love Chick-fil-A. First of all, they have great food, but one thing they do consistently, and I gotta credit Billy, who I used to work with for this. He pointed out that every time you say thank you, they say it's my pleasure.
Yep.
Something so silly, but it becomes a brand and you create consistency. You get a brand identity. You use customer service to drive loyalty. And now I like to go to Chick-fil-A and say thank you a bunch just to mess with their employees. So, but it's
my pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah. Billy's like, sometimes I'm like, and then he's like, I stop because you can see him queued up, ready to go. But yeah, it drives me crazy because, even in selling like contact center software, and I'm sure you've seen this, companies come in and they say, hey, we have X number of chats. We have X number of calls. We want efficiency. And at no point during that discovery cycle, and when you do try to dive in, do they understand why? What's driving?
I was just gonna say, this is Socratic method 101. Just ask the open-ended questions, the who, what, where, when, why, how. Like those are the questions that so many sales guys I don't know if they're allergic to it because they might go down a path that they haven't scripted out, they're not prepared for, or what. But like, I mean, on the flip side, for customer service, you're spot on, dude. Like you need to ask those follow-up questions, like the how, the what, the where, the why, the when, do it. Just do it. And that's, again, Socratic method 101.
You have a revenue engine in your contact center and nobody sees it. It is this poverty mindset. Like nobody would do that. Nobody would do that in any other industry other than call centers where it's a cost. It goes into OpEx, and every company that has a revenue issue, rather than taking a hard look at their call center, they go, how do we automate, drop jobs, and put more into marketing because we need more customers. And you've got chief technology officers that have committed. I mean, we were making fun of this last night. Like there's chief technologies out there, and I know one of you might see this, that committed to, I'm going to automate this XYZ project, got $1 million budget, and they're going to make that shit work come hell or high water because if they don't, they're going to lose their job. And if it doesn't work, they're going to lose their job. So might as well pull the trigger, see how this goes. And best case, I'm good. I mean, it's just the truth. And people are going to automate themselves into nightmares, and customers are going to get stuck in AI hell. We'll scale back. We'll go more human. And people will start to realize that, hey, revenue actually does live in my contact center. We just need to know how to leverage these conversations and then automate the low to no value stuff.
Yeah. And by the way, I just want to highlight, like you're mentioning the AI coming in and really messing some stuff up. I mean, I think of a horror story. I worked with this one organization and they'd had a sales force for 5 years, right? 5 years of customer data, of sales data, of closed lost data, right? And they just thought it was quote unquote too messy. So what they do, Justin, they just got rid of it. They just got rid of it and they started fresh with a brand new sales force. And my heart broke when I'm sitting down with them. I'm like, that is 5 years worth of data that is just gone, right? And we could have learned stuff from that. Like we could have learned, okay, here are your top 5 reasons that your closed losts happened. And now we can understand how to avoid those in the future. How do we block that objection in the future? That's gone. Right now we have to kind of start from square one. I have to learn and go through the sales process and now see where you're getting closed losts, all and then contextualize there versus having that already built up. But to your point, think of if you have AI go in and it misunderstands one thing, it's like a butterfly effect, right? It's going to transcend that one thing throughout all the data, and it's going to be gobbledygook. And you're going to end up in a year or two with just data and data and data. It's all incorrect. It's all, maybe it's got inconsistencies. It hallucinated. And then that hallucination turned into whatever real life was. So like, if you're not taking care of the data and you're not like actually having true AI data hygiene, right? Like actually people going in, checking the data, making sure that the outcomes are proper, like you're gonna just set yourself up for disaster. But I mean, how many times in tech do we see it, Justin? People will set it and forget it, right? Like they will set their technology and they will just be like, yep, it's working, right? And they'll only fiddle with it more often than not when something happens, right? There's some trigger event, whether it's a contract coming, out of expiration, they're merging with a company, whatever it may be. But like otherwise, your AI is still doing its thing in the background, and it might be making your a mess of data, and you're just none the wiser because you're not paying attention. And if you're a small business owner or a mid-market business owner, you might not be paying attention. Maybe you have an outsourced MSP, right? And they're just like, you're one of 150 customers. I don't know. Like, you think they're paying close attention to all your AI data? Probably not.
No, not at all. And yeah, it's just, I mean, the AI is just going to be funny because it'll do exactly what it's supposed to do. And people are going to find out their service. But and this kind of looping back, like just to KPIs, right? Think about what KPI are you measuring today? It'd be my challenge. What KPI are you measuring today that's impacting your growth? Not what's impacting your bottom line. What KPI in customer service? It's very easy to do in sales. Every sales leader knows how to measure this. But in customer service, what KPI do you report on that is a measurement of growth? And I bet you the only bullshit answer I'm going to get if somebody is CSAT. That's it. So it's number one. And I say it's bullshit because it's easily manipulated. And that's why I say grab it and measure your customers and cohorts and watch how they follow through. And as you pull these triggers that focus on outcomes, not activity, you can start to measure that, hey, this shit actually works. Oh my gosh, we don't have to acquire so many customers. Let's pour some money into our contact center because the bottom of the funnel is less leaky. We're not losing customers at the rate, I don't know. Call me crazy.
What you're doing is you're applying almost like what I used to lead with my SDR teams, right? Like you're applying this BDR SDR mentality to the contact center, which I think is a phenomenal idea. And I mean this in terms of my SDRs and BDRs, they were compensated not based on the number of calls they did or the number of emails they sent or LinkedIn requests they did. They were compensated based on how many appointments did you book, right? And then we also had how many appointments showed up to their first meeting. And then the ultimate icing on the cake was if they went close one, we had the SDRs get compensated with an extra bonus on top of whatever the closed MRR was. So like right there were 3 areas that the SDRs had like a value actually tied to the quality of their work, not just the quantity. And going back to what you just said, instead of just the activity and focusing on the almost the repetitions, the at bats, is to change it into a qualitative notion and start to pay more attention to not just how you did, but then the actual tangible outcomes thereafter, which that just seems like common sense, man. And like, I know that you're helping shake up the whole KPI industry for the contact center world. But like, I mean, it just sounds like common sense. I don't even know if this is super controversial. I know there are going to be people who push back, but like, this is, I think, just a natural kind of progression with making better experiences, not just like shortening bad experiences.
Dude, you get it. Yeah, I think you put it better than I did. But that's my point. Like when I'm on LinkedIn and I'm like going on my rants, it's simply just because once you see it, you can't unsee it.
You can't unsee it.
And it's not profound. It's not like, oh, mad genius idea over here. But you know what triggered this in my head? And like, this is not a bullshit story. I was running a sales team. I was like vice president of sales for this company. And I was looking at the head of customer service. And I shit you not, I had a day where I was like sitting there and I'm like, how in the hell did I end up in sales? Like, he's got it so easy over there, right? Like, it's a good buddy of mine. We'd go to lunch together and I'm like, he's got it. Like, I should have done service, like totally. Well, needless to say, he ends up leaving and I get tapped by the owner of the group to like, hey, let's just have sales and service run through you. I quickly understood. I know why I ended up in sales. There was a different profile in customer service when I had come over to that team. But then I started to see revenue inside of customer service. My sales brain couldn't shut off, but everything that it ran and optimized for was activity. And then I started to throw dollar signs behind that activity and start to communicate that to the team, started spiffing the agents at that company, and lifetime value went up. Agent retention went up. They were making more money. We were keeping more customers. We did well enough to land a big enterprise account that still lives with that company today. And it's not science, man. It's not. It's just when you talk, it's like you're speaking a foreign language sometimes, and people see death to KPIs and they go, "Oh, that's cute." Like attention grab. Sure. Yes, I wrote the book because for attention. You absolutely right. I wanted to get the message out there, but the message is right. It's right. And once you embrace it and you take a look at your contact center and you go, hey, where are we measuring revenue impact? 98% of you are not. You are out there running efficiency centers, but spending a shit ton of money to bring customers in to your containment zone and then trying to block the door when they leave. And it's absolutely freaking insane.
It's not science, it's art. And this actually goes to my OG co-host here, Tom Milligan. Now Tom is no longer in the CX industry. He is doing his new thing out in the customer strategy world, which he's crushing it with Cascade. Hope to have him back on soon, by the way. But I know he is literally he's working all over the globe. He was just down like Jamaica and Australia, and he's just a world traveler now. But So Tom, though, he usually, or I say he would often talk about the art and science of sales. And in our world, it was in the channel, right? And he'd always talk about how you have the numbers piece, right? Where it's the data, it's the looking at the numbers, making sure that things make sense, right? Like what activity do I need to do in order to get this type of outcome? How many events do we need to have in order to yield this kind of outcome? How many meetings do you have to have in order to yield this kind of outcome? So on and so forth. But then there is the art side of things. And it is that part I mentioned earlier that you can't, there's no banner saying the warm and fuzzy meter, right? And it is the part that just, it is that, and I've done this in an episode before. I called it the HE, right? The human element. How you can't put your finger on it, but it's there. Like when you're talking to an AI in the contact center, you inherently feel there is a disconnect with me and the AI because it's AI, right? It's never going to truly empathize with me because it literally can't do that. It has no ability to actually empathize. It is all LLMs and data and logic trees. It is not looking at me as a human being with human emotions and sentiment. Whereas when I'm on the phone with somebody, and you're talking about like, oh, I overdrew my bank account. I have an overdraft fee. Oh my gosh, my car just broke down. I'm struggling. I can't pay the bill. Like if you're talking to a real live human being, they're going to empathize, right? They're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like I had a similar experience. I had a family member who had XYZ happen. I had a coworker. Like it was me. Like you can actually tell a story and relate to that person on a human to human basis. And that's something going back to that human experience, right? You can't quantify it. It's not, there is no science number to it. It is just that feeling, that vibe. And I don't know, I've gone to all these conferences before and I've gone to all these events and I hear it constantly, Justin, where it's like, AI is coming into the CX space. It's replacing people. We're having AI voice agents and all these, it's the PFM stuff, right? The pure effing magic. And I hear it. I think it's cool, right? I think there's a lot of interesting applications and use cases here, but I am still firmly rooted in the idea that you will not be able to replace humans because inherently when we are going through issues of crisis or stress or whatever, anxiety, we want to be heard by an actual human being. And that's just something that no AI can ever genuinely replicate.
No, it can't. And that like the elites will get live humans. I mean, you'll have tiered systems as AI comes out and it'll be like the the freemium AI all the way, and like the higher up you go, like you're a Delta Diamond member or whatever that highest, American Express Black Card, you're getting a human. They're not throwing you on with AI. But I want to go back.
Oh man, what dystopian world that would be. Jeez, Lou.
Story, AI hell is what it's going to be called. The story you said. Let's go back to Tom. First of all, shout out Tom. Freaking love the guy.
Love him.
You said, hey, we're measuring like number of events, like traveling city to city, number of events, like meetings, right? KPIs. If now imagine you go to these events and your job is to talk to customers in under X number of minutes and move on. And at the end of the day, you get to celebrate who talked to the most people. Because that's what we're doing in call centers, when really in sales,
perfect analogy.
It's about relationships. Like, hey, if Brian, let's say I go around and I say hello to 200 freaking people, and you talk to 100 and come out with 4 relationships,
right?
Who did better? 200 people heard about SoniqCX because I ran around and said, hi, SoniqCX, have a great day, boop, 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 down the line. And again, it is a balancing act for any of the haters out there that are like, well, now I'm just going to have calls on hold because everybody's going to be talking and creating this thing that you've experienced. No, look, KPIs are a guide, not a god. And that's, I've said that a bajillion times on discovery calls since launching this thing. And it's not to say that they don't carry value, but it's how you use them. It's the language that you engage in with your team.
It's a tool in the tool belt. I mean, that's what it is.
Yep. But yeah, go to a conference, everybody, and act like a call center agent and tell me that shit makes sense. And then look at the way you run your contact center. Take that same mentality to any aspect of life, and then you wonder why you're bleeding revenue. Open your eyes.
It's not about the number of business cards you get, right? It's in the follow-up. My good buddy there, Justin Zachary, he works over at Talaris. He always says the fortune's in the follow-up, right? And how accurate is that when you see, and I know we've all seen it. I was literally at an event a couple of weeks ago out in your neck of the woods, and there was this one guy walking around, and he was just literally going through, you could see it, like he had like a little checklist, like, is this person worth my time? First one, they say, no, okay, nope. Nice to meet you. I'm on to the next. I'm just like, my brother in Christ. What are we doing here? Like, this is silly. And yet, right? Like, I know that type of mentality, that is very much alive and well, not just on the sales side, but it's also in the customer experience side, which is ironic because it's also a customer experience event. Like that is, it is something. Like when we have the conversations, like the podcast and stuff, like you and I can have a conversation about it, and we're just like talking through, like, yeah, this just makes sense, right? Come on, like this is a no-brainer almost. And yet then you will go to conferences and you will still hear people who will regurgitate these very old school mentalities of just like, okay, you gotta lower X, Y, and Z, you gotta increase this KPI, and it's just like, I don't know. I don't know if that's really the best course of action. Are we just going after this number because this is how we've always done things, right? Which, as a sales guy, I love asking that question. Like, are we doing this just because we've always done things this way? Like, is that why we're doing this old solution? And if so, okay, I understand that. How did you get to this solution, right? But like, if I hear that with the call center folks and then the customer experience folks, I'm like, okay, well, if this is just how you guys have done things this way, is there a chance there might be a better way? And I just see your approach, Justin, being just the no-brainer better way. Like I think you got a really good approach here to not just change how we're looking at KPIs, but then again, to your point, like, and how do you measure the value of those interactions long term? And the long term piece is so crucial. Like, you can get those short-term wins that look good on a spreadsheet, but when you can go and you can look at a 6-month, 9-month, 12-month, like you just, continue extrapolating that out over a 36-month kind of ordeal, and you see a customer value just over and over and over, that means a lot more to me as a business leader than, oh, great, we lowered our average handle time from, 6 minutes and 42 seconds to 6 minutes and 37 seconds. Great. Did those customers ever come back? Like, did they become recurring customers in the future? No. Okay. Well, Yay, we hit the number. What does that mean?
Dude, I love it. You're saying it means I'm doing a decent enough job. Nothing's groundbreaking, but you're getting it. Like, and that's the point. And I love what you said there about, sure, it looks good on a spreadsheet in the moment. And that's where we live. We're celebrating. Let's use BPO as an example. BPO owner, we created our website and I said everything I thought they wanted to hear before we ever even created the company. The website was stood up. It said everything. And then when we started, I started to talk this shit, realized, we've got to rip our website down. But the reason, what I'm trying to get at is saying, even when you meet with BPOs or your call center leaders, they'll tell you about how quickly they got them off the phone. They'll talk about KPIs. You will not understand a single damn thing about what happened to those customers. No, that comes on the back end when the CFO reports 9 months later. And there's a big disconnect.
Talk about disconnect,
hire people because our margins suck, or not that all CFOs are mean like that, but you know what I'm saying. And so, yes, it is like BPOs in particular. We want you to survive, not succeed. We want you to survive, not succeed. It is in our best interest to have your customers continue to call, because more calls equals more staff equals more money. And that's why you got to start to reframe this shit and say, hey, no. And we want you to have less calls, but more meaningful ones. What's broken in your process? And that's where we need to be better as BPOs and coming back to businesses and saying, hey, these are low to no value calls, helping map this journey and then extracting as much value as possible out of the interactions when they do come in, because one of two things are happening. Lifetime value is decreasing or it's increasing, and there's no in between.
Yep. Well, and by the way, like, to the customers, don't be afraid to fire BPOs that are just focusing on the activity, right? And I actually had one of my old companies I was consulting with back in the day. They were trying to do an outsourced SDR motion. And I was like, why? Like, they're like, oh, well, they're doing XYZ number of calls. And I'm like, and so what? Like, I don't care how many calls they did. How many appointments did they book? 3. I'm like, okay, over a month? What? Like, they did over, it was like some insane number, like 6,000 calls or whatever. They booked like 3 appointments. And I'm like, that's trash. That's horrible outcome.
I think that might have been me. I think that might have been me and you, dude. I don't think it was you and me. Okay, I did outsource some SDR work one time, and they were like, they guaranteed a number of bookings. Maybe it was us. They got their bookings, but the calls were totally irrelevant. And because I talked to you. That's how I met you. Tom introduced us.
You're right.
Yeah. I love it. Call it what it is. Like, I went straight off KPIs. You know what I got? A bunch of garbage. It's like throwing garbage in and expecting.
And I think we talked about that though, because you had mentioned that, like, you were like, I'm not really getting much from these.
Yeah, that's exactly how we met. So when you were telling that story, I'm like, because I didn't want to build the SDR team out where I was at. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Because I was like, I remember this story very vividly. The reason I must remember it vividly is because, like, something in the synapses, like, was triggered by us having the conversation. It's like, oh yeah, it was Justin, dude. Like, come on.
Cool.
That's really funny.
I'll own the shit out of that week, because we talked, and Tom's like, hey, Brian ran these teams. He can give you some good insight. And then we got on a call with one of my counterparts, and you kind of were like, hey, I wouldn't do that. And we're like, let's try it anyway. And I think it lasted all of 2 months. And we're like, okay, we got to bring this internal.
Yeah.
So,
no,
they did hit their bookings. They just weren't meaningful bookings. Yeah.
Well, and I know that there's, a big push back on folks, because, like, there is a cost of overhead, obviously, when you have to hire in-house. I get that, right? So there's a role for the outsource, but if you do have to go the role for the outsource, you really have to know your stuff, right? Like, I would genuinely suggest to folks, if you are looking to use an outsource SDR type of team, like someone like me, like, consult with me. Let us kind of steer the ship in the hiring process, because not all those businesses are created the same. Like, I dabbled in that world for a little bit, and like, just to watch how some companies would lead on the activity. And I'm like, you're just leading this to business owners because it's a bigger number on a marketing slide deck. Like we did, 10x number of calls or 15x number of emails. And I'm like, okay. And how many of those went to spam? How many of those turned into not just appointments, but like well-qualified appointments that turned into active pipeline? How many of those active pipeline deals were converted to close one? Like, help me understand those numbers. Oh, no, you can't. Well, that's probably because it's not a great quality solution. And like on the flip side, this is where you come in so handy, Justin, because on the customer experience side, if this is the way that things go, and I think they will end up going inevitably as more and more people catch on board and they watch our episode, right? Like they're going to see that there's going to be a demand to almost better qualify BPOs. Like help me better understand which BPO is going to be the best based on not just their KPIs, but help me better understand based on the actual outcomes that we're yielding here. Like, are we just chasing a number, or is there a reason behind the number? And then if that reason is there, help me understand the qualitative outcome that I'm going to see that I can then report back. So I'm covering my butt. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here in this world to help kind of grow just across the board, both in the BPO space to get better and more refinement, but also kind of almost consulting for BPOs for small businesses like that. I mean, I'm very curious to see how this will go. I wonder if it's gonna be more of a channel thing or what, but yeah,
It's coming.
I digress.
It's coming. I know it's coming. And maybe I'm not like the best at articulating it at times, but once you understand it, you just can't unsee it. It's one of those things that you when I talk to other call centers, you know what? Like I think you mentioned earlier, like when to outsource. Like I'd be honest with somebody, like if you were a prospect, outsource, like when to outsource, like when your call center is not, when it's something that you just stuck with, right? Like I have a prospect that I'm working with that we're working to onboard, I hope, that they had a very efficient business and the call center was a result of their success. And it's like, hey, I'm not a call center
scale
person.
Too big.
Yeah, it was just a result of success. They're a service. There's a service provider company that ended up with a bunch of customers, and the call center was a consequence of that, albeit a good one. Outsource that. If you don't have your passion's not there, outsource it. If you're going to do it internally, just focus on revenue. Don't focus on activities, because BPOs, we need to do better. We have to do better. I mean, we've got a bad jam, right? We compete each other to the bottom. It's like, hey, I'll price it here, you price it here, and we all get to where we barely have any margin because all we bring to the table is activities, and it's whoever can do it for the cheapest. And that's why you see all this growth of overseas contact centers and things that have happened, because it's efficiency and if you just want efficiency, it really just becomes price. Like you'll see RFPs, and don't get me freaking started on RFPs. RFPs,
everybody's favorite in the technology space. Everybody loves a good old RFP,
especially
if you help write it.
It's a 47-page document that screams, "Hey, I have no idea what I'm doing." That's literally what I like. Hey, it's almost like hilarious when RFPs. I almost wrote about this on LinkedIn, and I thought it was too cruel, but screw it. They show how incompetent people are, and it's like, hey, give me your business continuity plan in case World War III happens. Like, yo, bro, pretty sure nobody's going to be calling your center if shit hits the fan this hard. But no, like nothing about, hey, what do you do to help increase customer value? What is the touch points? What's the brand experience that you'll help unify? How do you report back to our teams on value creation? No. Hey, what is continuity? How safe is your systems? And we stop there, and it's this big dog and pony show of, hey, who kissed my ass the best?
Yep.
It's hilarious. Anyway, I like to shit on people, but RFPs are a joke, and I refuse to fill them out. I just won't do it.
I used to have a technology advisor. I hope he doesn't listen to this show. He might. If he does, I'm sorry.
There's some good ones out there. I'm not. If somebody's
but
got
no,
a good
no, this
RFP,
guy, he was just he would chase RFPs, and I would be like, my brother, I do not want any more RFPs, and he'd be like, but this is a really good one, and I'm like, Is it though? Are you sure about that? And it was always like pulling teeth. But no, I hear you, dude. RFPs just drive me up a wall.
We're too
I
small.
hate
I don't
them.
have time. Like maybe one day when it's SoniqCX, we've got some people that's their specialty, sure. But as a startup, like I'm not
Yeah.
wasting my time. I'm not going to compete. Like I will tell you the value we will bring to the relationship. I will present that to you in a meaningful way, but I'm not spending a week filling out a 47-page document that's going to go
No.
into email land, and then I'm going to hope that you want to date me.
Yeah, and then 4 months later, you get the
Nope.
response, and it's like, "Thank you for your application. After a very thoughtful consideration, we've decided to go with a different vendor. We appreciate your time and consideration and putting all these answers on 47 pages that we're never going to consider you in the first place." Yeah.
Yeah, they need some CX without the BS. Like it's it's for real, man. And that's another rant. I mean, I don't want to get too far off, but the other thing that drives me nuts, and I think I'm a little bit brash, but when did we learn not? When did we become like everything we hated? Like, and what I mean, when you're like a kid and you watch adults talk, and you're like, they
Ew.
talk funny.
Yep.
And then next thing you know, I'm spewing that shit out of my mouth, getting promoted because I sound so good. But really, I could have said in 3 words what I said in 16, but damn, it sounded fancy.
Yep.
Anyway, I digress on that one.
Justin Jones, we're already getting close to time, so this is the part of the show we like to start to wrap the episode up in a nice, neat bow. And I guess my kind of final thoughts, like before I turn things over to you, like this is an area where I am so thankful that we are starting to see more and more folks at least starting to have a conversation around how do we look at KPIs? Like again, are we chasing the metric? Are we chasing the activity, or are we actually chasing it based on an outcome? And I don't know what it was where we had like for 30 years, it feels like everything was metric based. And I don't know if it's like we all of a sudden realized that we had these CRMs that could capture all this data, and then that data was presented in metrics, and then we just became metrics focused. But metrics don't actually have like the contextualized like meat and potatoes that we need to look at behind the scenes. Like that, again, going back to the warm and fuzzies, right? Like it can't capture that. So if we're able to start to kind of look beyond the number and more into the application of the number, and kind of to your point, what those outcomes look like, right? That's going to be the option. I think we're going to have much more success. Like from I think the main selling point to your point earlier is that stop spending so much time up front trying to invest in sales teams, right? Like hire less of the SDR consultants and take your existing customer base and really make sure you're making them just wild, crazy, happy customers that are going to be loyal. They're going to spend more. They're going to promote your brand. They're going to bring you referrals. Like that's the way to like true long-term success. And I don't know, man, like I think it's common sense, but I think you've really found a what's it called? A gray space here, right? Where there's not many folks who are addressing a very real need. And candidly, like I think you're the first one that's actually built something that's a true like solution to the problem. So I'm excited to see where this all kind of goes. And I'm excited to see Justin Jones, speaking at what conference, like is it going to be Channel Futures or Channel Vision or something in 2029 as the lead visionary in changing KPI prioritization, or what's it going to look like? I'm curious.
I don't know. I honestly, like, what I do know is this is gonna grab hold. We've been fortunate as a startup. I mean, we've hit some tremendous growth, and there's people that get it. Like we definitely, our conversations, I think, sound different than other BPOs. I'm even starting to see other BPOs kind of spin our message out there. I'm all for it. Whoever does it, it's just nice to know that like what we do and what we stand for, I have the utmost like belief that it's right.
Yeah.
Because I'm not out there on calls selling activity. I'm selling change for a business that really we can make a difference, and we can both benefit from that. And so, and then the other thing that's really cool that I'm it's the end of the podcast. Most people probably won't see this anyway, but we're launching like in the next week or two, SoniqAI, which I do want to show you. So that'll be, we also own SoniqCX.ai and Sonic.ai. And that is a AI platform that's agent assist, that's revenue outcome focused, that we're going to be utilizing, but also make available to other BPOs. So built by a BPO for BPOs and contact center leaders that will drive the 5 KRIs and eliminate KPIs.
Love that, dude. Justin Jones, it's been great chatting with you. You're one of those people I'd love to talk with on air as much as I do off air. So thank you for hopping on. And, I know this is a conversation that we're going to start to hear more and more of. So as that conversation starts to happen, I'm looking forward to having you back in the show. Maybe we can even have like a panel conversation, maybe a friendly debate with someone who vehemently disagrees with you. They're going to say, no, Justin, we need to focus on those metrics. We need to focus on those KPIs. How dare you try to look at long-term outcomes and value, you heretic. No, I'm looking forward to that. I'll be the host for that. I'll moderate for you. I'll make sure
bring it on. I don't think anybody's going to say that. But yeah, that'd be
if they
awesome.
did, I would laugh, because that is probably the most dramatic thing that's ever happened in the world of of contact center customer experience debates. But I digress. No, brother, this has been a lot of fun. Folks, if you got some value from today's conversation, go ahead and give it a share. You can follow yours truly and Justin Jones both over on LinkedIn. As for CX Without the BS, we are a podcast as well as a YouTube show. So head to CX Without the BS over on YouTube. We also air short clips from the show over on our YouTube Shorts page there for CX Without the BS. So nice little digestible bites. And then otherwise, hit subscribe over on your favorite podcast catcher, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, wherever it is you consume your podcast content, you can find CX Without the BS. But with that being said, Brian Eagle signing off here on CX Without the BS for Justin Jones. We'll see you next time.